Welcome once again to Wildlife on One. We're now in the Belizean jungle looking for some incredibly rare wildlife. We've seen jaguars, we've seen howler monkeys. At times, you might even see a wild Ambergris Caye.
What's up, guys? Ambergris Caye in the wild here. What can I do for you, Perry?
Hi, Dennis. Yeah, listen, we're getting a lot of people asking questions about the different types of investment they can do. And obviously, with a certain amount of money, 50K-ish, you can get yourself a 70 by 90 square foot lot on Ambergris Caye. But for the same kind of money, you can get yourself an acre on the mainland. Now, what can I do realistically with the 70 by 90? On Ambergris Caye, what can I do realistically with a whole acre on the mainland?
That's a great question, Perry. So obviously, buying property on an island is inherently going to be more expensive because there's only so much property on an island like Ambergris Caye. And the properties have been subdivided very small, well, small by American standards, right? So typically, an average size lot is 60 by 80 in Grand Belizean estates. Some parts of Secret Beach, they can be jumped up a bit. For example, West Caye, 75 by 100. We even have a couple larger lots, lagoon front lots, north of downtown Secret Beach that are pretty significant. Now, what could you build on those properties? Well, as you drive around, you can see that most of the time on a typical property in and around Secret Beach, people put a single family home. It can be a nice 2 to 3 bedroom single family home. Oftentimes they'll fence it in, have a place for the kids and the dogs to play. And other than the home itself, there might be room for a small pool, but sometimes not much else. Now, on a little bit bigger property, so for example, in Palmyra Woods, where the lots are 60 feet by 100, what we found can work on those lots is a main home, 2-bedroom home, up on stilts for the views and the breezes, but also there's space there to build a casita. Another rental casita, maybe an overflow casita for friends and family who come down. But that's about the extent of what you're going to put on a single lot on Ambergris Caye of typical size. Now compare that with owning something like a full acre property here on the mainland. With a full acre, your opportunities now really explode. You can have several homes on the 1 acre property, 2 to 3 bedroom, 2-bedroom homes, plus casitas, plenty of space for orchards and gardens and pools, parking. So it really opens up the possibilities of what you can do with just a single property. Now, another thing is if you like to be surrounded by nature, when you're at Secret Beach, you're going to have neighbors front and back and to the sides. And so you're not going to really have a big buffer in between you and your neighbor, which is just the way those subdivisions are designed. Here in a place like Caves Branch, you can build a very small footprint, single family home on a very small corner of your acreage and perhaps go up 2 or 3 stories so you get some great views and then leave as much of the lush jungle around you as possible. So not only have you created this little feeling of isolation in the jungle, which is really cool, but also your next door neighbor is that much farther away from you. So you have this nice buffer in between you. So it depends on what you're looking at, Perry. And they're they're two different animals, right? Secret Beach, Belize, or Ambergris Caye is very different than the mainland. Some people prefer one over another. And what I'm finding more and more now is people are trying to figure out a way to do both. They want the surf and turf experience. They're using one base as their main home by having a little crash pad in the other area. So for example, they're building their main home here in Caves Branch, where they can have a large home, a nice estate, gardens, orchards. But then on Ambergris Caye, just a little casita, this little crash pad. So they can go out there for 3 or 4 days at a time, put it in a rental pool, Airbnb it. So they're trying to figure a way to do both, or even in reverse. Ambergris Caye becomes their main property and they want a little jungle spot. So hope this answers your question. Let me know what else you need. And until then, Dennis in the Wild. See you later.
Thanks a lot, Dennis. And there he goes, back to his habitat.